A long time ago, when I was just beginning woodworking, I would look at woodworking magazines and see all the equipment in it. And there was one piece of equipment that I always thought I needed to have, but I never really got until only a few years ago. And that was the wood joiner. The wood joiner is something that you think you need to have, but it really is something that you can do without, especially if you're a beginner. And there's some things that you can do on your table saw that will basically take the place of what a joiner will do for you. What a joiner does is it cleans up and planes out and makes a side of your wood straight, and it also provides a perpendicular edge if properly set up. And that's something that you can do on your table saw using a couple of methods. And if you stick around to the end of this video, I will tell you what piece of equipment that I would buy a lot sooner than a wood joiner, and will be much more versatile to you than a wood joiner would be. The two things that you can do on the table saw, the first thing is you can, whatever you need to rip down wood-wise, width-wise, make it just about a 1/16 of an inch wider and make your first cut. And what that will do is, that first cut's, you're going through a lot of wood, so it'll cause that blade to vibrate a little bit. And once you've done that, set your fence to the proper width, 1/16 of an inch less, and then make your final pass, just shaving off about a 1/16 of an inch. And that way, on that second pass, that blade won't be under so much stress and it won't wobble. When a blade wobbles, that's when you get a pretty ragged cut. And if it's a really bad blade or a really toothy blade, like these 24-inch tooth blades that you get, they're for construction basically. You'll get these sometimes with the new table saw. These will make a really ragged cut. So if you get a nice finer cut blade, and you do the two-cut method, then you'll get about as straight of a cut as you can get. The second thing I would do is, if you have a piece of wood that doesn't have any straight edges on it, is to take another piece of wood that has a straight edge. You've either put a ruler on one side or sighted down and it's straight enough. You can screw that to the board that you need to have ripped down to a straight cut, and you can use the side of that board against your rip fence and then clean up that crooked edge. Then you can unscrew it from your board and flip it around and cut it again. It's not something that requires a fancy jig or anything, just a nice clean straight edge board screwed or attached to the board that you want to cut, and make that cut. Now, the piece of equipment that is much better, in my opinion, to get in a wood joiner is a planer. You will get far more use out of a planer. It will plane things, of course, down to thicknesses, which is a great thing to have, because you'll need things at different thicknesses, and you'll also need to clean up wood that you can get from your lumber yard. And you can clean up one edge on your table saw, then you can stand that piece of wood up, as long as it's not too wide, 2 inches, 3 inches, 4 inches, you can stand it up and run it through stood up, even in multiples of 3 or 4 or 5, just keep them together, and you can run them all through at once, and you'll get very consistently width and cleaned up pieces of lumber that you can use for rails and stiles of a kitchen cabinet or whatever you need them for. That is much, in my opinion, much more handy than what a wood joiner does. A wood joiner, I've seen it used mostly for the rails and stiles of a door, that if you're putting together a door. So it's made for cleaning up edges, but it's more useful for cleaning up wider edges, like 1.5 inches, 2 inches wide on up to 4 and 6 and all that. So in my mind, it kind of has limited uses. It's also good for tapering. You can taper with it and other tricks. But I have only recently got my wood joiner, and I really rarely used it since. I use it for occasional things, but I use the heck out of my planer. So if I was a beginner woodworker, focus on your table saw first, and probably second would be a planer. Even those DeWalt benchtop planers, those are excellent planers. Just something. Planers much more, will give you much better results and much better money spent. So if you like this video, please like or subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Thank you very much for watching.